Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. I want to welcome everybody to our public meeting tonight, and thank you all for joining in. What I would like to first talk about tonight is actually a secure network that parent advocates can assist parents one-on-one in dealing with the courts, dealing with the Department of Child and Family Services, and all of the legal issues that they may be dealing with, and also counseling for parents. And so what we have is we have a on-call system at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. So let me share this screen with everyone tonight, because this is where you can go to become a parent advocate on our live parent advocate network. And down in the right-hand side, you will see a tab that says offline. Right now, we're offline because we are bringing parent advocates on to become online representatives and advocates for parents in distress. And so there's our introduction for all parent advocates. And then here in the middle of the screen, we have the parent advocate login for parent advocates who have already signed up for this service. Now, this is a volunteer service, and we do request that parents who want to be parent advocates log in regularly to this site. This platform is private. It is not involved with any social media outlet out there. And I already have my information here to sign in with. But, you know, you would, of course, be putting in your own email address and signing in. And when you sign in, if you have forgotten your email address, oh, I was supposed to show that. Sorry. There actually is a button there at the bottom after the password. Uh-oh. Well, and, you know, I'm trying to be on there more frequently for me to get onto the Parent Advocate Network and work on the website at the same time. And so my efforts and energy have been put towards doing the website redesign and development now. Apparently my screen has frozen up, so I will have to walk away from there. But on the coalitionforprotection.com website, it's parent advocate login, and you can just go right there and it'll take you to your login screen. Now, once you have logged in, there is an option that you can put a bookmark on your page, on your website page, or, you know, when your browser menu, right, where there's the bookmarks at the top, and you just put a bookmark for the login there. But there's options where you can create a representative icon. Let's see if I can do this again. No, it won't do it. Never mind. But you know, you can personalize. It's almost like Facebook, because every parent advocate, when they become a parent advocate, is also placed into our group communication network. And you can whisper to other parent advocates if you do not have an answer. And so this is just beginning to be something, but it is really a wonderful tool that we can use, where people who are in distress can privately communicate with a parent advocate and not be in fear of having their information made public, having their information used against them in court. And, you know, the parents can also look at the website, and the parent advocates can direct parents to different links on the website, different information and forms and laws for parents to deal with whatever family court issue or legal issue that they have. And that's, I wish that I was able to keep sharing that. It's difficult. I'm out here in the sticks, so my internet connection, I'm grateful I can get this much going. And with that, I would like to welcome everybody to our public meeting here. And Dale, thank you for joining in. Thank you. Thank you, Pamela, for joining. Thank you, Ryan, for joining. And then we have a caller in. Is this Dawn? Who's calling here? Hello. All right. Well, when you want to talk, I think you have an option of raising your hand. If you have something you would like to say, but thank you for joining us tonight. So Pamela was just talking to us about some things that we can do as. Oh, hello. Hold on. Hello. Okay. So Pamela was talking about how parents can fight for their rights by, protecting their rights with their lawyers, making statements to their lawyers that they reclaim their rights, whatever rights were unknowingly removed or taken from them. They now want to reaffirm them and reclaim them as their own. And we are talking about incarcerating the crooked judges, the crooked and corrupt judges, and the other crooked and corrupt employees of state and federal agencies, destroying families across our nation. And we have been talking about how this is, and this is where Dale comes in. We want to be able to create a better environment, a community environment for families to raise their children in a safe and loving manner. And so with that, I would like to give the floor to Dale here. You're on.
Hello, everyone. And, I'd like to preface this with, I am an outreach representative from the Universal Faiths of Cosman. And what we are about is prevention. And so we've just come to the conclusion that rule of law has been subrogated to administrative law and executive privilege, and really the voting majority doesn't play any part in the decision-making process. It's just whatever whim comes out of the air by the executive, either at a state level, it's a governorship, or the national level, which is the presidency. So, and that's what we have running the country right now. They're broke, they're out of money, and really it boils down to the law is enforcement, apprehension, and then it's either incarceration, or deadly force. There's no subtlety, no nuance, no interpretation, no evaluation, and this is part of the maturity of our country, starting out some 200 years ago with a couple million people, and now what we're trying to do is adjudicate the rights of 300 million individuals in a court system that's like molasses. So it obviously doesn't work. So the thing of it is, what we are trying to do is feed the homeless and house the homeless and feed the hungry. And boiling it down to families, those families that are stressed and at risk and who don't have the financial support and the economic support are becoming unhinged. and that means the children, the structure of the family is being unhinged. That means that we have to go back to basics. And if there's an economic structure that we, a structure that we can create to create habitat first. So if we can if we can catch the families in the community that are at stress and take with the more stressed family and put them in a secure place where there's a roof over the head, it's clean, they have heat, they have all those physical necessities to make it possible to even function. And then, of course, it's about self-sufficiency. And I think Puerto Rico right here is a very good example that for all intents and purposes, a government that supports and takes care of its people is non-existent. And so that's the first. So that means the court system and everything attached to it doesn't exist either, except for who it exists for, which is everybody but the people. So having said that, the model that we're that I'm proposing, and it's not the model, it's a model. What we would do is work together as a group and start with one structure, one place. It could be a multifamily dwelling that could be, like an apartment building that could accommodate 2 or 3 families. It could be a single family residence. It could accommodate one family. And when we say family, that could be a single unwed pregnant mother and her loved ones. Even though the male may be married in fact, but that's the husband of the child she's carrying. That's the family that exists. So and everyone she's attached to, mother, grandmother, child, grandson, whatever. So Lyra, please mute me when I run out of time. So what we're proposing is get control of the real estate, get it paid off, fee simple, homestead it, and make it a partnership between family services and the people, because they have a stake in their own future, and basically it's a commitment that as long as they work together to keep the family together, obey the law, and unfortunately and we make sure that the habitat conforms to all fire, health, and safety requirements, so they can't say they're living in substandard housing. All those regimes are in place, they can be enforced, and they can be acted upon. So we have to recognize them. You can't just ignore them and say we're going to do things the way we want to do them. So this is a case where we're actually going to be becoming a support system for the child services, all these organizations in the state. So we get one house, we get it rehabbed, we get it habitable, and then we search for a family. And again, there's another component that has to be there, is these families that are stressed, they need a coach, they need an advocate, they need a friend. And so having a life coach on the premises 24 hours a day, and this could be a life coach, meaning it could be a group of people, but at least one person is there to confront whatever issue is facing the family. And it's also it's based on an entrepreneurial model, that we have an educational program and a program to help them learn how to use the system and work within the system, acquire the skills they need to be self-sufficient, and be what I'm going to use the quote, productive members of society. So it meets all the metrics that the governing agencies go by. And so when they go in and put their flashlight in the door, they say, yeah, this is okay. It's kind of like a Jedi mind trick. These aren't the drones that you've been looking for. So the idea is that we're not against anybody. We're not fighting a court system. I think all of us would agree if we were given the agenda that they have with the budget they have, we would fail also in discharging a responsibility we have our country's children and mothers and families. It just can't be done by but passing a law and saying, well, this is the way it is. Well, you see how that's working. It doesn't work. So that means we've got lefty and righty, and we got the air, and we got the water, we got the earth, and we got the sun. We've got our creator, and we got each other. So now it's time for us to take control of our lives, and within this system, and not going against anybody, working out a solution. But again, now so let's just say we have control of the property. Well, the next thing is food, and one component of the universal faiths of Cosman is adopting a plant food diet. There's a lot of reasons for this, and you can, if you do the research from the standpoint of sustainability, you can say, well, we're over 50%, nearly 50% of the land mass that's usable is occupied to grow food for animals. So the minute you adopt a plant food diet, you free half of the habitable land in the world for people, and also you can easily feed 80 people on two acres, 3 meals a day, 365 days a year, and 1 pound of meat protein takes 2,500 gallons of water. 1 pound of plant protein takes 200. So there isn't enough fresh water and fresh potable water or land to maintain an animal food diet. And the other aspect is the health aspect, which is, and I push everybody to the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, because these are the scientists that are proving that it's unhealthy to eat animal food. And there was one case in Montana that I know of where a rancher, a cattleman, was told by his cardiologist that he has got to stop eating meat because otherwise he's going to have a heart attack or a stroke. So, it's abundantly clear that that we need to change our diet, and it's for each individual to ferret that out for themselves. It's not a matter of forcing anybody, but that's what we support. That's what we advocate. So the next thing is teaching people how to be permaculture, agriculture specialists. So they learn how to select the vegetables that are going to give them a balanced diet and make sure that they're healthy, and also how to do it in the most productive and sustainable way so it doesn't harm the environment or harm themselves. So it's all about science, mathematics, biology, physics, and chemistry. And so this is and the spiritual component, it's real simple. If you stop abusing and killing animals and eating animals, and you stop abusing and killing human beings, you put an end to war. And how significant is that? With just a simple act, instead of taking a hamburger and shove it in your face, or grab a piece of celery or a carrot or an orange or an apple or any number of things that's far superior from the standpoint of health, but from the standpoint of the environment and getting in touch with our surroundings and having the empathetic aspect of honoring the sacred breath of life, which is bringing in a spiritual component and filling the air with our better angels, which we drastically need. And so it's for a multitude of reasons that we adopt these principles and values, and at the core of every civilization is a family. And once that goes into disarray, your future is not only not assured, but probably making its own demise in the process of doing that. So we have to change change the polarity of things and go from loving things and using people to loving people and using things. It's an internal change in our thinking and our behavior that's going to change the world. And so that's I'm out of gas. I'm out of material. That's it.
Thank you, Dale, for introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your philosophy and project. And I want to say hello to our new attendee, Dawn Ruffy here. And I wanted to, maybe you should look to see, you might have to, I don't know, if you're having some audio problems. Nobody else seems to be having audio problems. Hi, Kimberly.
Can you hear me now?
You got it? I hear you.
I cannot hear you.
But I hear you.
I cannot hear you.
Turn up your volume.
Can you hear me? You hear me now?
I hear you.
Can you say something? Maybe I'll hear you.
I am trying to talk. I'm also sending you a message.
I cannot hear you.
Turn volume up. While Dawn is trying to figure that out, I would like to take this moment to ask the person who has a phone number, if they could please introduce themselves. We'd like to know who everybody is here on the Parent Advocate Network. If you do not introduce yourself, I will have to take you off of our network. Okay, well then, I'm sorry, but we need to know who we're talking with because this is really important.
Hello?
Hello. Who's this? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Kimberly Johnson. I'm in several of the groups.
Thank you.
I think Holly Dyke can vouch for me. I know somebody can.
No, thank you for joining us. I think I've seen some of your posts online, and your name is very familiar to me. So, would you like to say something? Is there anything you wanted to add?
Will the meeting be on video?
The meeting is on video, and what I do is I sometimes edit these meetings because I make sure that the information that becomes public does not compromise the person.
Let's see. I think you can hear me, correct?
I can hear you, Dawn. What's
But I
going
cannot
on?
hear you. I do not know what to do to be able to hear you.
Can you get my messages?
Can you hear me, Mr. Ruffy?
It's Dawn
I
Ruffy.
have a symbol up here that says speaker and it's on. Okay, but I'm not hearing anything. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Now I'm gonna turn it back on.
Yeah, because I mean that's what I was trying to say.
It doesn't.
Can you hear any of us, Mr. Ruffy?
He can hear us. He just can't. No, he can't hear us. I don't think so. Well, try.
Mr. Ruffy, can you hear me? This is Pamela Olson. Save Our Children?
Okay.
No, he can't hear me.
Okay, turn it off and come back on then. And so, hold on, let me mute Dale here.
I still cannot hear you.
Log off and then come back on. All right, hold on. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
Hold on, I'm trying to get him to log off here, and I know you want to say something. Here we go.
No, I was just.
Your
I was.
microphone is unmuted, Your video is stopped.
Ah,
Okay. How do I turn my speaker on? That's the problem. I don't know what the problem is with
Don,
this.
can you hear me?
Uh,
Don,
uh,
Don.
Dawn. I don't think you can hear any of us.
Logging-
I'm gonna have
Log him
to
out and then
on this other. Hold on, let me just message him, and then I will get back to Kimberly here. Sorry about that.
I was just trying to help him. I was just trying to signal something that he might see. I didn't have anything in particular to add to what you were doing already.
Oh, well, thank you. And, you know,
so log off and on.
yeah,
Okay, I'll try that.
all right.
Logging off and
I
on.
just got the message to him. So that's wonderful. And, you know, I think
So-
that Dale's got a good idea going for the alternative communities. I mean, this is a multi-headed beast that we're dealing with here. We've all come to this conclusion in our own ways. And Dawn, can you hear me? Dawn, are you there? All right. Well, what we were talking about earlier is the whole thing with the, okay, so
I'm going
the
to
Finnish
turn my
forces
phone
attack-
off and then turn my phone back on and try again.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
So I think that we've come to agreements that we have the judges that need to be put in jail, the corrupt judges, and those who have violated our rights and have forced us to sign contracts that we did not want to sign. We have the right to revoke that signature at any given time. That's protected under the RICO Act. So you can hear me now.
Yeah,
All right.
Hey!
yeah. I was
Excellent.
trying to turn the phone off. It didn't go off, but I started hearing you.
Weird.
But
That's-
yeah, it's weird. I'm glad. Okay. Can you give me a quick synopsis of what you guys been talking about?
I was just getting to that. So, what Dale is offering, and his project, his portion of this work in rekindling the family structure in our society, really is what Dale's talking about, to make that family structure strengthened and reaffirmed and rekindled, because we have a society that is broken down. And what was it you said?
Well, there's three components, and it comes down to the essentials of life. And it's feed the hungry, house the homeless, and build families and communities. And that's where we've got to get away from, and part of that is demilitarizing our planet and getting rid of central rule of a large monster that really was built on the premise of building armies and acquiring empire, and getting down to local community and family rule, where everybody has a voice and there's a consensus of opinion, and we don't put a piece of a pencil on a piece of paper and put some guy in office and live with whatever decisions he'd make. We have to be actively involved in the decision-making process at a local level with the things that affect us. And the way to do it is follow Buckminster Fuller's example. You can't convince anybody about flying in an airplane until you prove that you can build one. So build a better model that makes the old model obsolete. So I'm all about building better models, not wasting a lot of time arguing about what's better, but just building better models and letting people choose for themselves where they want to be. It's not a majority rule. It's ruled by the highest light or the best idea. that's ferreted out by the community. And what concerns the people in Washington has nothing to do with the people in Fort Bragg or, Bangor, Maine, or Anchorage, Alaska. And the problem is everybody's got an opinion, and primarily because we were playing in a monopoly game, the money interests and the bankers that control the currency end up winning. And the rest of us, can have what's left, whatever that is. So, in any event, the organization that I'm connected with is interested in completely peaceful, nonviolent change, clearly by example, and not forcing anybody to change the way they think, just giving people an option to choose something better over what exists. And so it's not an argument. It's just a case where we're going to be, all the people have rotary phones and we're busy building an iPhone. And once we get it on the market, they can decide if they want to keep the rotary phone. God bless them. If they want to stay with the money system, God bless them. We're here as a support system. When this thing falls apart and doesn't fund the necessities of life, we've got, with our own two hands, we've got to build that support system in the communities. And, because the poor people in Puerto Rico still think that there's some government out there that's going to take care of them. And if there was a Santa Claus that came along and gave them about $25 billion, sure, we'll come and fix your country up. So it's come down to that money is more important than people. And you're on a quick train to hell if that's what we've come down to. And so I'm like I say, I'm grounded in physics and chemistry and biology and mathematics. And if it doesn't work, you don't sit there and stubbornly insist that it does. I don't care what your religion is, or what you believe, or what kind of bed sheet you got on your head. The proof is in the pudding. Gravity is gravity, and nobody has any argument with it. And if they try to challenge gravity, they usually end up on their rear end somewhere, So I'm looking for those axiomatic things that all of us have to conform to, that are incontrovertible, and you have no argument against it, So I say, generally, if people don't want to do something they have to do willingly, then they're forced to because they have to. That's not the best option, but certainly the gravity of the thing is going to provoke people to go in a direction, whether they want to or not, and that's the way it works. And so I'm with gravity. That's where I am with what is.
Thank you, Dale, for that synopsis. And I would like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that we will be reopening the meeting in about 7 minutes. We are at 6.5 minutes right now. And so if you would like to join us for more conversations about what we as parent advocates all over the country are doing on our individual paths to deal with this very amorphous, large beast that we're looking at right now, and we have to wrestle with.
I had one caveat that I wanted to introduce here, and I had the personal experience where I sued the Attorney General and the Governor of California. And I went to attorneys, and there was let's make a deal. We'll plea bargain. We can do this. And I had one attorney that said, no. I asked him, well, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to sue the Attorney General, just like it was a matter of course. Now, here's the problem when you start going after judges. And I want to tell you, when this thing shifted over to administrative law, and it got away from civil law, and it gave executive privilege to governors and presidents to form these organizations that had nothing to do with constitutional rights. It's strictly executive privilege. What happened in my friend and my attorney's case is he lost his license to practice law. Okay, so when you're going out to attorneys and asking them to stick their necks out and go against the judicial system, which they're a part of, they're putting themselves at risk. And so that you have a tremendous amount of opposition when you start fighting this system in the courtrooms. And I'll tell you what, you better have a very, very fat wallet like the Koch brothers. Because I went through $30,000 like it was tissue paper.
Yeah, in essence, what you said is that it is not realistic to expect to receive justice from the judicial system. Okay, and I agree with that 100%. It's basically a waste of time, money, as you've already personally seen, and effort, heartache. Okay, and then sometimes lives, because a lot of people commit suicide trying to receive justice from the judicial system. It's not going to happen because they are crooks. The judges are crooks. Okay, they violate people's rights left and right. Every time they do, they're committing a felony under U.S. Code Title 18, Section 242. It's as clear as a bell. Now, what the people of America need is for these crooked judges to be indicted and prosecuted for their crimes. That's not going to happen with the judicial branch because it's like the mafia. The judges, over these crooked judges who are violating people's rights in the so-called family courts, will protect them. They protect their own, just like the mafia. And it is a big racket. And so there are basically two solutions to that problem, which will become, in my view, intertwined. Public pressure, all right? Public pressure comes from public education, of which this movement is very active right now. And the people of America at large are beginning to wake up to this family court racket. They're becoming aware of it. And as the public becomes more aware of it, there will be greater scrutiny on the part of the public and greater pressure. Now, public opinion is said to be the highest law in the land. And in this country, it still is. When the people get together, which is happening right now, the people will get what they want. Now, but they're not going to get it through the judicial branch. Now, there's three branches of government: the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. Now, a lot of time, energy, and money has been spent trying to cajole or smooth the legislators into tweaking the system to coming up with some sort of new law that will cure the problem. The likelihood of that is approximately nil. It's approximately zero. And there are reasons. Even if we were able to finally persuade a legislator to introduce some legislation along that line, by the time it got through the meat grinder of compromise, which pervades every legislative body, it would be so watered down and weak that it would hardly do any good at all. But even if you did get it tweaked a little bit.
1 minute, Don, and then we have to come back.
Okay, it would only help the future victims. It would do nothing for all of the people who have already been victimized, and it wouldn't put the crooked judges in prison. So in the final analysis, it will have to be the same as it was in the prior civil rights movement, which was led by Martin Luther King. The executive branch, which means Donald Trump, has to come as a champion to the American people.
So I guess we shut off and reboot, join another platform.
Okay.
And it's the same one. All I have to do is just end this meeting and reopen it again, so you don't have to go anywhere to find a number or anything. It will be the
Okay.
exact same one, and we can continue this conversation. Thank you all.